Oh, I was on mute. As I was saying, yes, YouTube has a bad habit of putting up the wrong time, not us. I don't get it, but it happens. And also, there aren't a lot of people here because they're all falling for the big scam. That's the news, especially the news media in America. They're just like all they care about is politics, 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 and they're doing a good job of scaring the life out of everyone with them so they can get ratings. But there's more behind it than that. That's why I call it a smoke screen, because I don't know, something else is going on behind the scenes. You think you know what it might be? Anyway, I was talking to Whitley today about it too, because Mary also pointed out to me that it's because of all this political horse manure. And Whitley explained the same thing. He said that every 4 years this happens. He says, minute it hits December, it picks up again because everyone forgets about it. Well, hopefully we will be forgetting about it, because if things don't go the right way, we're going to have a problem on our hands. But we don't do politics on the show, and that's as far as I'm going to go with that. I'll let your imagination do the rest. So tonight's show, yes, tonight's show, we didn't have anybody to go in front of camera. Now we are doing a show every 2 weeks instead of every week. This allows me to do a great deal more. Like, I can do more art on the subject. I can work on my next book on the subject, which is basically a book about the art, and it's all the art. Other short films, and thank you. You're so sweet. And there goes the phone again. Why? Why? Oh, it's just repeating itself. If I don't look at the darn thing, then it thinks I didn't pay attention. Thank you so much, Anne. That's very, very sweet of you. Where was I? So we're talking about what you're going to see tonight. It's only 10 minutes long, so it's safe to watch it all the way through to the end. And a few of you mentioned that, we really like your intro. You ought to do a short film like that about the subject, and just have no narrative or anything, just have music and sound, which we call a tone poem or a short film, or both. So I did that. I gave myself 4 days to do it, which was a bit of a challenge. I wanted to see what I could do in that short period of time. Now, as I was saying, we're going to be doing, before I found out it was muted, we're going to be doing shows every other week now, which frees up a lot of time. And, well, not a lot, but some, enough that I can finally get back to that book on my art, that will have lots of art in it, old stuff, recent stuff, newer stuff, and also other short films and art. I have 2 3D printers here. Wow. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. So I have 2 3D printers. One's a resin one, which prints very fine, clear stuff. And the other one is what's called a PLA printer. Both of these were gifts because people were getting frustrated that I wasn't getting into 3D printers, so they gave them to me. I quickly learned how to use them. They're dead easy. But what I learned, and I think this is why they did it to me, was that just because that darn machine is printing out work for you doesn't mean you're not doing the work. And that's certainly true, because I go into Blender, and Blender allows me to sculpt like what you're seeing behind me, just like that. That was sculpted in clay and then molded and then cast in rubber. And I sold quite a few of them, and Whitley signed them way back when. That's one of the surviving ones. But I can do the same thing with 3D printer, and it's still my art because the program actually allows me to sculpt digital clay. So, even though my hands aren't on the clay, this is molding and sculpting and putting in all the details, and I got really used to it, and it works very well. And then it prints it out for you. Then you have to fill in some of the lines and stuff. The other printer prints very smooth, but doesn't print that big. The other one prints big, but it's not that smooth. So there's always cleanup to do, and then painting it and stuff. But I wanted to make some of that art available, because what got the X-Files back in the day interested in my work was the busts like that I was doing, because Chris Carter was buying them, and I didn't even know it until I went and met him, and he showed me. And the art sold pretty well. I mean, I don't charge a lot of money for the stuff, so I don't make millions of dollars, but it's really nice to do art like this and be able to allow people to have it in their home. Some people don't want it. I get it, you know. Put a towel over it at night. I have one right next to my bed. Mary put it there. That's got a ball underneath it that glows and lights up its whole face. It's not one of these. It's a typical gray. So there's going to be lots more things that I can do, and I can also put more time and quality into each show we do, which is because I was getting, after 6 months and 24 episodes, I was getting pretty, not burned out, but tired. So tonight's show is just kind of, like I said, a little tone poem. It kind of gives the feel of what it was like when I was a child in this sort of secret life that I had going on. I plan to do a longer one that in the future, because I'm learning how to get facial expression into the 3D characters that I have. And I'm going to be learning motion capture of my face, so I can do motions and then apply that to the face, and also lip sync, so I can make the characters talk for future things. I've been cramming the last 6 months, kind of relearning 3D software because I didn't touch it for quite a while. And I think I'm doing pretty well with it. So lots of amazing things are going to be coming. If you haven't, if you're someone here who keeps hearing me talk about the forum, really, you should go there, because it's a safe place. You can be anonymous. It doesn't cost you a dime. You can join for free. You can use a different name, and you can share your experience with everyone else. As I was talking to Shelby last night, it's also a place where we're starting to build a database. In experiencer stories, for instance, there are a number of people starting to post there, and they're posting images and their story about their experience and what happened. Thank you, Donna. And I've been posting in there a lot. Today I posted about another one. I said I would. We talked about it last night. I didn't want to take up time talking about it because we had Shelby on, and we weren't able to finish everything she had to say. So we're going to have to come back. We got as far as CE2. We're just getting to 3. But I didn't want to overshadow that. So I can talk about it now. And it was really an odd experience. And that's how it is. If it's not really odd and strange and verging on the edge of making no sense at all, I doubt it's really the visitors sometimes, I swear. And this one was one. And I wrote all about it in the experiencer stories on the our free forum, which Mary just put up a link for. You can see right there. I love this modern age for some things. Mary's in San Diego, and I'm in Ventura, and we're working together just like she's here as always. She'll be home tomorrow. Boy, am I glad. Miss her terribly. And so does her dog. Well, my dog too. Sitting behind me, looking very pouty, with her little cute pink ball to keep her company. So, yeah, it's a good one. You got to go there and read about it. I can talk about it a little bit if you want, but it was just really, really odd because it's the conclusions that I make at the end you might want to read about, because they are a little, well, I don't want to go into it here. So you could go there and read it. The title is The Giveaway. As I, quotes, woke. Yes, that scary word everyone's afraid of, WOKE. So people that are afraid of that word are in fact asleep. They're not awake like you and I are. They live in this bizarre fantasy world where everything that goes up must come down, and the earth is flat, and there's no life after death, and they believe in God, but yet they really don't because, anyway, it's all that kind of stuff, but you can read about it. what I wrote. But I will tell you that, I came to and I was in this sort of dome room with light coming down from the ceiling, and had mosaics, and there was mosaic floor, and there was a ring with inside of a ring. There was this ring, and had a metal edging to it going all the way around a circle. Then there was another one in the middle, smaller, and you could see that it was like mosaic kind of feeling. It was really actually very beautiful. And then in the middle of it was some sort of image of some humanoid something. I couldn't quite I can't make it out now. I bet I could have made it out when I was there, but you know how things get foggy. They really couldn't figure it out. But there were two like monks. They almost looked like Buddhist monks, and they had very closely shaved heads. They did appear to be Asian, but their eyes were kind of on the big side. And excuse me for giggling. And I don't mean to make fun of this stuff, but it helps me to giggle because it's so odd. They had these long poles, and at the end were like these bell-shaped things, and they're going sweeping back and forth over this circle in the middle of the floor. And this other being came in and said, "You guys have got to get out of here." It's so many words. I mean, it's like he needs to do something. And I thought to myself, I do, and but then somehow inside I did know I had to do something. To make a long story short, this taller being that was thin and wearing robes, and looking back on it now, I'm pretty sure it was the tall white gray. But she was wearing these robes, and they had like all these interesting patterns running through the material. It was like nothing I've ever seen. And she told me to get down on my knees, and I did, and at the circle, and then I extend my arms, and I extended my arms. And she said, you have the power, or something like that. And I put my hands out like this over the circle in the middle. And I knew somehow I was supposed to get that centerpiece to rise up. I felt my hands get really warm, and I kept, with my arms out over it, trying to get it to move. And then it did. It moved up about 2 inches and stopped. My hands are quite hot. I wouldn't say they were hot, but they were very warm afterwards. And then I reached down and I grabbed it and I pulled it up. It came out of the center, and I turned it upside down, and there was like some sort of technology underneath of it. I couldn't make head nor sense of it, but there was details and things. But I felt that wasn't what was so important. What was important was what I just did. I moved something with my mind. And it ended there. But as I was writing about it, I got this conclusion to what it all meant. And I mean, it just sort of came out of nowhere into my head, and I said, I better type this down. And I typed it down. And you can read it all on our free forum. You will be asked to join, to read anything there. And the reason we do that is to protect the people who are there. So not just anybody comes in and gets in there and says, you people are all nuts and everything, because we get that. But not there, because the minute they see they have to join, they're gone. Except for you guys. And 66 of you have joined so far. And that's a large number for this subject matter, for a very shy community, and one that hasn't grown that overly large yet. So you're okay. You're right near Port Hueneme Naval Air Station. If you go to the pier at night, you can see things over the base sometimes. I've seen plenty already. Well, not plenty. I can never get enough of it, but it's always exciting. But I've seen some amazing things, and so has Mary. And hopefully tonight we will not be covered in fog. I think the full moon was last night, but we've had this low ground fog and mist, which is kind of cool, but I'm getting tired of it because I like being able to go out in the backyard at night. We have some nice new backyard furniture we got after the flood, and the whole backyard's really nice now. It had to all be rebuilt. And Go back and sit there very comfortably on the couch and look up at the stars. And I have a nice set of powerful binoculars because I gave all my telescopes away. We had a 12-inch diameter mirror, an 8-inch diameter mirror, and a 4-inch diameter mirror telescopes, and they were all underwater, which wasn't a death sentence because they're mostly all made of stainless steel and glass, and so they needed to be taken completely apart, disassembled, and cleaned, and then recalibrated. And it was not something I wanted to do. And so I gave them to a school, to a guy who teaches kids about astronomy and space and the stars and aerospace. And I thought that was a good thing to do because for me, just having a pair of binoculars and watching the sky is enough now. I've done all day astrophotography, and sticking my eye into that eyepiece enough for me. I know what's out there. At least I know what some of the stuff is out there. No one believes that Northrop has a large craft mothership. I call it the Beast. It backfires and makes skyscrapes. But nothing would surprise me. Nothing really would. Presidio. Well, and I used to live. A giant insect happened over me. Oh boy, Whitley calls that big bug. Big bug, he said to me one night driving back from Santa Barbara. He said, "Sounds like a band." Anyway, that always stuck in my mind. I lived right next to the Presidio when I was a kid growing up. Surprise, surprise, huh? Look what happened to me. It seems that for the most part, when I stayed wherever I lived, there was some kind of medical military facility, local. That the Presidio. When I go on the weekend to San Anselmo to spend the weekend in the summers with my grandfather and grandmother, there was an Air Force base there. It's all gone now. And I used to watch T-33s and Super Sabres and F-86s take off. I used to hear the sound barrier being broken. I'd sit right by the fence and watch. And I really loved that environment. But also plenty of things happened there as well. And of course, when we moved to Pacifica down the peninsula, my mom found a house that was parked directly under the Nike base. So, and of course, stuff happened there. So, but I never saw a big bug. If Whitley's watching right now, he's laughing, and he'll tell me later. I don't remember saying that. You remember everything. Yeah, I did. In fact, the very moment he was telling me about big bug, I looked over my shoulder, and Ann was sound asleep in the back seat. Good times. I live near a Green Base. I have seen 3 different types of craft. Donna, if you know your civilian and military aircraft, and I do, except for the things they're not telling us about, they're easy to tell the difference from, especially when they zip across at 1,000,000 miles an hour, which none of our stuff can do yet, I guess. Wes, thank you so much. Well, yeah, you're welcome. I was willing reluctantly to share them back in the 90s, but it caused me a lot of harm. Now I'm 72 years old, and it's time for this to come out in the open. And it's not like someone's going to fire me, not unless I decide to fire myself. So, and I won't use that term. Happy past this weekend. Am I missing something? Love the Presidio, really magic place. Yeah, now it's just sort of a museum. What about military aliens that have guns? I don't know. There's been lots of aliens reported having some sort of energy beam weapons that would shoot light at you and stun you and things like that over time, but I never encountered that. I did encounter the wand more than once. You all know what the the wand is, right? Don't I have a picture of it? A drawing I did, probably. Let's see. Not, I can find it easily enough if that's something you'd like to see, but I assume, and I should never assume anything, that most people are familiar with my artwork I did during the 90s. I did a lot of it. So, but then again, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go. I'm still not familiar with happy. You'd be surprised the things I don't know about this subject, because there's so much to know, and there's so many things that that have happened. It's hard to keep up with it all, even the older stuff. So why am I not? Let me look over here. We're looking for pictures. Thank you. Not the new art. There we are. Everything's over here. Isn't that wonderful? For some reason, what did I choose? Video clips? Oh, there we are. This one will show the wand. And the wand has been seen by a lot of people. And in fact, even in communion, you see the wand. It was interesting watching the review of the film by this critic who was really quite kind and quite thoughtful about the whole thing. He didn't like the director, and that makes two of us. I met him. And he made the comment that I wondered about but didn't know for sure, which was that Christopher Walken thought the whole thing was a joke. He didn't believe it at all, which doesn't surprise me because I worked very closely with Chris in his early career, and I liked him and everything, but he was difficult at times, and it doesn't surprise me he thought the whole thing was silly and wasn't real, and people were delusional or whatever else he thought. So, but he did. So, I can't find that. I cannot find that image, and it's a real one that I know I have it. God, don't you hate that? You're looking at files on your computer, you're not seeing it, and maybe 10 times you've gone right past it and not realized it. Oh, there's another folder. I've used it in the past for thumbnails. Jeez Louise. I'm about ready to give up. I don't think there's still hope on this one. That's weird. It's just, I'm not seeing it. Thought, I'll just go right to it. It will be. Maybe. Nope. No. So it's not there. I don't know. But something's there. Sorry. It's fun to joke. Nope, don't see it. Anyway, I'm going to go back to comments because I might be missing something. So the wand's this long silver thing, and it has a bright spark at the end of it. So I had a great drawing of it because it was shown to me when I was a little kid. And they'd sometimes touch you with it, and you'd be gone, and you wake up. So, okay, I'm just looking through your comments because I was fiddling with that. Aliens are fake and gray. Well, you guys are having fun. That's good. So, any questions you'd like to ask since I'm not babbling right now? Got a nice car t-shirt on today. I like my hobbies. Auto racing. Can't afford it, but I do it in miniature with the slot car track. And, I have a sports car that I like to drive and tinker with. It's just important to have uh, hobbies. It really is. You can't be thinking about this stuff all the time. You try managing all this data. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm basically interested in creating a database for our group here, for our people who are having these experiences. And I've come to know many of you, and I love you all, but I'm pretty close without even meeting you in person, and following your stories and your input. And so putting it all in one place is kind of important. Cobra GT. I watched Star Trek Bush Picture and I thought about you, Steve. Yeah, it's a shame I didn't get a credit in that film. And and it's I had a letter from Fred Phillips, the makeup artist for the original series, Outer Limits, and for Star Trek, and I can't find it. If I could find it, then I could show that to IMDb, and they would give me the credit I'm due. Um, I did get credit for the Undiscovered Country, at least. That was the last one I worked on. But unfortunately, I know if I ask V, and I probably should do this, V Neill. Some of you will know who V Neill is. This three-time Academy Award-winning makeup artist, probably the great lady of Hollywood makeup artists. We were at Item many years ago and got her start together and been friends all these years. But yeah, she worked on Star Trek, the motion picture, because of her relationship with me. And so she would probably write them a letter and say, hey, and they'd have to listen to her. So, but yeah, I loved working on that film. I love getting to know the actors and Fred and Gene Roddenberry and Majel and everything. It was a really lucky thing for me to be able to do that. So thanks for thinking about me. And the Spock Gears I did was just one of the things I did for that film. So okay, way too much disjointed crosstalk here that doesn't make sense. Well, I'm really sorry, but this is open chat, and a lot of these people know me, and you know they're going to ask me questions. Mac Maloney, he's author of Wingman series. No, I haven't. Uh, I'm just laughing at some of the comments. So I don't think Lapis will stay around to watch the show, or maybe you've watched some of the other shows, so you know what we're about. But we're about people who have close encounters of the third kind, as I have had. Answer, okay. Where's Anne's comment? Anne, oh, my question is, how can I sleep at night when it feels like I'm under siege? I felt that way a bit myself last night, Anne. I had this. I felt like I was underwater, and I told Mary, we talked last night, that I felt dizzy, but in an odd way. I would get up, and it's like, oh, am I going to fall over? No, what's going on here? Um, and so I was a little concerned, and I kind of didn't want to go to bed. But finally, around 10:15, I did. And what I do is I do some breathing and I clear my mind. I just clear it. I don't allow myself to think of anything. I don't know if you all can see things when your eyes are closed. I always have since I've been a kid. And I see all kinds of geometric patterns and shapes, and sometimes they turn into real clear images of things, such as grays looking right at you. And but other things, traveling over landscapes and things. And I'll watch this stuff and next thing I know, I'm asleep. Um, and hopefully I'll sleep for a good 3 to 5 hours straight through before I have to get up and then go back to sleep. And then again, the monkey mind starts to go and tell it to shut up. I've been fighting this battle for years, but I think I finally got hold of it. Jeez. So anyway, that's what I do, Anne. Yeah, I know it doesn't it's not easy, but once you learn to do it, it gets easier. I don't think about anything. Sometimes I'll just project this big zero, and I can see it in my mind with my eyes closed, and I just keep repeating it and repeating it. And it fades out, and it comes back in, and it fades out, and just thinking of it now starts to relax me. So there was something about the Enterprise that I miss. Oh, you're asking me about Battle Band of Stars. No, I don't have anything from that movie anymore. And John Saxon, I can tell you a story about him. He called me up one night and said, "Hi, this is John Saxon, the actor." I said, "Yes, John, I know who you are. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about the makeup. I don't want any of that, all those prosthetics and stuff covering up my face. So can you come up with something kind of simple, make like maybe I'm not as mutated as everyone else." So he had issues. I've run into this a few times. Sometimes it was legitimate, like Christopher Lee didn't want to be made up as this alien in this movie, but he's very kind about it. He says, "Steve, you'll have to understand, I've done all those Hammer films and they've covered me in makeup over and over again. I just can't go through it again." And I said, "That's fine. We'll come up with something." Guess what? I ended up playing the alien at the end. And it's a gray. This was in the 70s. And everyone from Spielberg to Netflix has used a clip of me as that gray in the more recent shows that you've seen on Netflix and Spielberg's Encounters. That's when you see that gray, it doesn't have black eyes, it's got eyes. The eye covers are off and it turns and looks at you. That's me. Funny thing. Huh? Oh, thank you, Lapis. I'm glad you liked that. Well, again, this is just a loose chat. A lot of times, there's this whole community in here which you're part of, and we just talk, and people ask me questions, or they may bring up something that happened to them. Um, I really didn't have a target to talk about tonight. I did talk briefly about the short film that's going to run at 5 o'clock, and I described that it's a tone poem. And that means that it's an artistic piece that sort of gives you the feeling for what the secret life was I was living back in those days when I was a kid with the visitors and taking rides and going into space. So it's done because it's kind of filler. Also, it was requested. Someone had asked that I do something like that, and we didn't have a guest to go in front of camera this week. Next week we do. We got someone else after that, and both these people are experiencers. And then so we're back to the format of them telling their story about their lifelong encounters with the Greys or other beings. So we've had a hard time getting people to come forward in front of camera. So sometimes there's a little delay. Now I am missing questions here. Um, Somebody asked me about Steve. Did you ever work on TV and sci-fi Starship Invasions? No. Uh, Robert Vaughn, what a nice guy. God, I just it was so cool to meet him because I was a big Man from Uncle fan when I was a kid growing up in high school. Loose lips sink ships. Let's see. What interesting. I have a glass of wine to see that. Okay. So I'm just making sure I didn't miss any questions because I did. George Papard. What do you do? Follow my career? You do know I worked with George Papard, right? That I stuck him in a. He was in the A team. You remember the Aquamaniac creature? That was something my dear friend Rick Stratton and I built in 1 week. That costume and stuffed him in it, and he was fine. You know, I also heard William Shatner is a difficult, but I didn't have a problem with him either. He was very nice to me. Um, yes, I do. I do think, Abbott, that there are hybrids among us. I not only do I think that, I also feel there are many times you're walking down the street and you're passed by people who are not from here. Interesting thing I find is that people, when they think about space and other worlds out there, is they don't really expect people coming from other worlds to look like us. But if you consider the dandelion effect and the fact that we have comets carrying genetic material and DNA in them and how they seed many, many worlds, then it's likely that many of us come from um, the same strain. And if the conditions are right on the planet, it wouldn't be surprising to me that there are a lot of people that look like just like us out there, or the fact that we're seated here deliberately. Who knows? Um, uh, oh, thank you, Debbie. I didn't get a chance to see that. Mary put it up, and I know by the time I went to look at it, I was answering other questions. So, Debbie, thank you very, very much. And thank you for being here. Yeah, this is, uh, oh, well, thank you, Lapis. I noticed that there are more and more every time some new people here. And so a lot of times I assume everybody knows what's going on. But to those of you who may be new, I've been having these experiences since I was 3 years old, or even before that. I mean, before being born, kind of thing. And you will, if you look into the subject very deeply, you will find many, many people uh, have a feeling about this. One of the most common things that happens when I put a guest in front of camera, not for the live stream, well, also for the live stream, but for the video series, they will almost always start off by saying they don't feel like they're originally from here, or that they don't belong here, or that they've been in the backyard since they were kids looking at the stars and wanting to go home. So I was talking to Whitley about this, and I seem to get it over and over and over and over again. So there must be something to it. So I've been having experiences that long, and all through my childhood, I didn't talk about it, and I kept it pretty secret, except for my grandfather, who also had experiences. And I didn't talk about it to anyone else because I just didn't think it was a good idea, or maybe I wasn't supposed to, or maybe I was told not to. But when I got to be a teenager, there were lots of things going on, but I used to see UFOs a lot, but I didn't really uh, make a connection between the odd events I had with non-human beings, which I assumed were dreams or something, and what I was seeing in the sky all the time at close range and very frequently. And then I read Communion, and a few years, and I connected the dots sort of for myself. And then a few years later, I met Whitley. This is the short story. Whitley and I became good friends. I did lots of appearances on television about this subject, which had a bad effect on my motion picture career. Um, but I was working with Yvonne Smith, who you may know. I'm talking to the new folks here. I did. We've been friends for years, just like I've been friends for years with Whitley. That was odd. And also Roger Lear. We worked together a lot during the 90s. And then my late wife basically freaked out. the whole thing scared her so bad because we had men in black helicopters, people taking our mail, sending it back, phones tapped, being stalked, and all that stuff you hear about. And our life was in X-Files, and she wanted it to come to an end, or she was going to leave. Um, so I quit. I stayed in touch with Whitley and Roger and Yvonne, and that was it. And I was very secretive about that. And when Joey passed in 2013 from cancer, what else? Um, I started to merge back into it. I made a film called "But Something Is There," Lapis. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It was my reemergence movie and book on Amazon, and it's on the channel. It's called "But Something Is There." So, I've ever seen someone I thought was a. I'm sure I have. Yeah, and there's been a lot. Oh, is that pronounced Sukhoi? Sorry, you can't stay. It's spelt very much like the aircraft, which is a Russian aircraft, which is really an amazing airplane. Um, but I guess he's gone now, so I don't know. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. Ticking noises when they're around. Well, no, you can't talk to anyone. But anyway, to finish the story, uh, you know, um, I met Mary in 2013. I moved to Ventura, and we opened up a studio. Thank you. I thought you were gone. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. But probably not. But thank you so much. Um, we made the film here. We made a few films, um, and then Mary had the idea of doing Breaking the Silence, which was designed to allow people like yourselves who can't talk about this to anyone, rather whether it be anonymously using a different name or going in front of a camera and using your identity to tell your story without the fear of ridicule from some skeptic, or debunker, and without an interviewer saying, interjecting and saying, "Well, what about this?" or "Did you see that?" It's just lovely to see someone sit in front of the camera and tell their story and say, "Oh, geez, I could just breathe and I can just tell you this, and you're not going to interrupt me or ask me anything." No. So, and it's been fairly successful. Mary got me into a lot of trouble work wise, but that's okay. I don't mind. I quit doing movie work, and I used to make all kinds of masks. You can probably see some sitting up there in the background. Um, if I turn on these horribly bright lights, you might get a better look. Boom. You can see some of them back there peering over the top of that big Enterprise model, which I also built. I did a lot of movie work and a lot of model building and stuff for films. There's the space station from 2001 over there, and a bunch of other stuff. Um, as they say, the place is a museum when people come to see them. We kind of are the Addams family in a way. Um, but I don't know. I still love making things, but now I want to do more art with this subject. And oh, Jill, thank you, sweetie. Thank you so much. We love you too. We really do. So making masks is a very involved process. It's you sculpt big full size head and clay, and then you got to make these heavy molds and then take them apart, clean them out, and then you got to fill them with rubber. And doing makeup effects and creature effects for movies is a very hard job. And as you get older, it's like, I just don't want to do this anymore. But I do want to do it digitally and then have it printed out, and so I can keep doing art that way, and plus also the paintings and the drawings. So which I'm really looking forward to. And um, I really love doing this work. I love allowing people to tell their stories. I like telling my own stories because I've done quite a few of them. If you haven't watched all the episodes, a good percentage of them are mine because, well, we waited to get people to come in front of camera. I think that was the dog. Um, I would go in front of the camera and say, "Okay, I have to be on the spot again." It was hard. It's not easy because then you have to edit the darn thing and create the effects for it, and you're seeing yourself over and over again on this big editing screen. Spill your guts, and it was easier when you know sightings. Back in the day, in the '90s, and some of the other programs would call you up and say, "We want to come over and interview you. Are you okay with that?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." They'd come over and they'd shoot it, and they'd go away, and a few weeks later, or a month or so later, the show would come on. And I always found it uncomfortable to watch myself on national television, spilling my guts about this stuff. Not so much anymore. It doesn't bother me. I'm very comfortable with it because in my heart, I know what's happening is real. And I think it's really important that the world knows about it. And it's still not easy, but it's getting better, sort of. The Beatles song, it's getting better all the time. So, okay, who's going to send their story, Mary? I missed it. Oh, Donna. Yeah, well, Donna, there's yeah. Well, we can break it up into parts, which we do sometimes, as we did with Stillwell. So we did that with his. We turned it into 4 parts. So I see that the show is going to is about 10 minutes away, and I would like to use the facilities and shut this down and watch it with you. I'm going to stay here with the dog, and it's kind of creepy here right now, and watch it. And last time I didn't, I had to drive home, and it's short, so I want to be there when I see you guys. I won't be in chat myself, but Mary will speak for me. So you guys, thanks for all the support tonight. Thanks for sharing with me and Mary your stories. And yeah, if you want to come forward, just send us an email and we'll talk. There's no rush, there's no hurry, and there's no pressure. I love you all very, very much. And we'll see you again next week. You guys have a good night.